Imagine a place where the earth opens up to reveal a hidden world, so vast and astonishing that it challenges everything we thought we knew about our planet. A place where untouched tropical forests grow within, where clouds form beneath a colossal rock ceiling, and where an underground river has carved new paths for millions of years. This isn't a science fiction tale or the setting of an adventure film. This place is real, and its name is Son Doong, the largest cave in the world. Located deep within Phong Nha-Ke Bang National Park in central Vietnam, Son Doong is a natural jewel that remained hidden from humankind for millions of years. Its sheer scale is so breathtaking that a 40-story skyscraper could easily fit inside its chambers. Imagine standing in a place where even the greatest feats of human engineering seem tiny in the face of nature's raw power. Nha, the geological formations found here date back to a prehistoric past, and some of them appear to have a life of their own, slowly moving toward the light. There is even a unique ecosystem, with species found nowhere else on Earth. In this video, you will dive into every detail of this extraordinary environment, from its formation history and the latest scientific discoveries to the indescribable emotions of those who venture into its dark, cavernous galleries. Get ready for a journey that will expand your understanding of nature and of the creative and transformative force of our planet. Son Doong is not only the largest cave in the world by volume, it is a true time capsule, preserving and protecting natural secrets for ages. Could these secrets offer clues about prehistoric eras or even the origins of life in extreme environments? When we speak of Son Doong, we are not merely referring to tunnels and dark halls. Within lies a complete tropical forest, a river that flows freely, endemic creatures, and even its own climate system, with clouds and mist forming hundreds of meters below the surface. It's almost unbelievable to think that this wonder remained out of the spotlight for so long. It was only in 2009 that it was fully explored and documented by a team of speleologists, gaining international recognition. But even now, 15 years later, there are still areas that no human being has ever set foot in. And although more than a decade has passed since its official discovery, Son Doong still holds unexplored zones and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Why is this cave so special? How do clouds manage to form inside it? And how is it possible for a forest and a river to exist in an environment that in theory should be hostile to life? These are just a few of the questions we will answer throughout this virtual expedition that you are about to embark on with us. So get ready, because in the next few minutes, and over the course of thousands of words, you'll join us on a deep journey following step by step what it means to explore, understand, and protect one of the greatest natural marvels the Earth has ever presented to us. To understand Son Doong, we must begin with the surrounding landscape in which it is embedded. Located in Quang Binh province in central Vietnam, Phong Nha-Ke Bang National Park is a protected area recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Its dense tropical forests, deep valleys, and limestone mountain ranges create a landscape that seems straight out of a fairy tale. This extremely ancient karst terrain contains hundreds of caves of varying sizes, with Son Doong being the brightest gem of this underground complex. Historically, the region was inhabited by local communities who survived through farming and fishing in rivers. For a long time, many caves served as shelters and even hiding places during the conflicts that plagued the country. Nevertheless, the local culture and heritage remained relatively unknown to the rest of the world until recent openings to tourism, though still carefully controlled. What's curious is that despite all its potential, for decades, Son Doong remained merely a legend among hunters and villagers. There were rumors about a giant cave that harbored strong winds and mysterious sounds, but nothing had ever been confirmed. It was the courage of one local man, Håkan, who discovered the entrance and led international explorers to it, finally unveiling to the world the overwhelming power and beauty of Son Doong. As we move forward through this journey, remember that the entire landscape surrounding the cave is essential to understanding its geological formation and natural processes. After all, the story of Son Doong doesn't begin only within its walls. It begins in the mountains that encircle it and the forest that blankets every inch of this epic setting. The first expedition, the modern story of Son Doong, began in 1990 when Håkan, a local resident, ventured into the dense forest in search of wood and food. Upon encountering a large crack in the rock, he felt a strong gust of wind blowing out from within, accompanied by a peculiar sound that he would later describe as the roar of an underground river. Although he mentally noted the location, Håkan lacked scientific knowledge about caves and the proper tools to explore it. As a result, the entrance remained a secret for nearly 2 decades. It was only in 2008 that he met a team of British speleologists led by Howard and Deb Limbert, who were interested in exploring the Nha-Ke National Park region. In the midst of their conversations, Håkan mentioned the mysterious cave he had discovered years earlier. Intrigued, the speleologists persuaded him to guide them there. However, it was not a simple task. Håkan had to make numerous attempts to relocate the exact entrance, camouflaged by dense forest and steep limestone cliffs. Finally, in 2009, the expedition reached the opening of Son Doong. Armed with climbing gear, high-powered flashlights, and a great deal of determination, the explorers entered this unknown world. What they found inside far exceeded expectations. Gigantic chambers, rivers, breathtaking rock formations, and an entire forest emerging beneath a massive doline. And what if I told you that some of these formations seem to have a life of their own, slowly moving toward the light? A natural opening in the ceiling that allowed sunlight to enter and supported the formation of a unique ecosystem. The international response was immediate. Scientific journals and adventure magazines began referring to Son Doong as the largest cave in the world. The images revealed a place that had once seemed impossible, a combination of awe, grandeur, and mystery that reshaped our perception of what could exist beneath the earth. Geological formation, how Son Doong became a giant. To understand the vastness of Son Doong, we must delve into the geological processes that led to its formation. The karst landscape, predominant in the Nha-Ke region, is the result of limestone rock that over millions of years has been eroded by rainwater and underground rivers. Rainwater, naturally acidic due to dissolved carbon dioxide, reacts with limestone, opening cracks and widening passages. It is estimated that Son Doong began forming around 2 to 3 million years ago. Over this extensive period, an underground river slowly eroded the rock, expanding corridors and chambers. The result is a tunnel system stretching up to 9 kilometers in length, with height and width so immense that in certain sections it could accommodate 40-story buildings. Additionally, 2 large dolines, natural openings in the cave ceiling, have allowed sunlight to enter, creating ideal conditions for the emergence and maintenance of an internal tropical forest. When a portion of the ceiling collapsed, the cave gained direct contact with the outside world. This phenomenon is relatively common in karst regions, but on the enormous scale of Son Doong, it is an extraordinarily rare geological event. The colossal structure of the cave also houses unique formations, such as stalagmites that can exceed 70 meters in height, giant cave pearls, and Phyto-cast rocks capable of moving almost like living organisms, orienting themselves toward available light. All of this makes up a geological complex so unique that it continues to astonish scientists around the globe. Entering the cave. Imagine walking along a narrow trail in the midst of dense forest, flanked by towering trees and the constant sound of birds and insects. The air is humid, and with each step you move farther away from civilization. Then, suddenly, the dark mouth of Son Doong appears before you, as if the mountain itself had been torn open, revealing a portal to another world. The first feeling is reverence. The scale is so immense that your sense of space and depth becomes disoriented. As you approach, the temperature may shift abruptly. A refreshing breeze flows from within the cave, signaling that there is a vast interior filled with air currents. The limestone walls, covered in moss and lichens, display a palette of colors ranging from deep green to dull gray. The sounds change too. The song of forest birds gives way to the distant echo of dripping water, droplets that seem to come from all directions. In some places, you can hear the soft murmur of the underground river flowing in the depths. It is a sensory experience that stirs the imagination, awakening the sense that something grand and unknown awaits around every turn. From this point on, the group of visitors or explorers usually switches on powerful flashlights and equips themselves with helmets, ropes, and above all, a great deal of courage. Entering Son Doong means embracing the certainty that every step may unveil a new and extraordinary scene. The giant passages and the feeling of insignificance. Once you cross the entrance to Son Doong, the sense of scale is inevitably put into perspective. In the largest chambers, the ceiling can reach over 200 meters in height. It feels like standing inside a natural cathedral, but on such an overwhelming scale that even massive man-made structures would appear minuscule. Travelers often recount feeling like ants, walking through an environment that defies all conventional measurements. Steep walls rise in every direction, adorned with rock formations that jut out in curves, peaks, and folds. No matter how powerful, flashlight beams often fail to reach the ceiling in some areas, which only adds to the impression that you're standing before something truly colossal and incomprehensible. Each step echoes multiple times. A simple conversation can reverberate through the corridors as if multiple voices were hidden in the darkness. It is a setting of majestic silence, occasionally broken by the sound of dripping water and the wind coursing through the tunnels like a messenger from even more distant parts. These sounds create a natural soundtrack that many describe as spiritual, as if the cave itself were alive. This feeling of insignificance is, paradoxically, deeply inspiring. Many visitors report a profound sense of humility and gratitude, for when contemplating the immensity of Son Doong, it becomes impossible not to realize how vast, complex, and full of wonders our planet truly is. Wonders we still don't fully understand. And that realization often comes hand in hand with a sudden awareness of how vital it is to preserve such places, ensuring their beauty and biodiversity remain intact for future generations. The underground climate. How clouds form inside the cave. Perhaps one of the most fascinating aspects of Son Doong is the phenomenon of clouds forming within its depths. We're used to looking up at the sky and seeing clouds drifting above our heads. But in Son Doong, they appear hundreds of meters below the Earth's surface, creating a near-surreal landscape. This phenomenon occurs thanks to a unique combination of factors. Humid air from outside enters through the main entrance and other small fissures connected to nearby cave networks. As it moves inward, the temperature and pressure shift dramatically. At certain points, especially near ceiling openings known as dolines, sunlight heats the cave's interior, generating convection currents. When the warm, moist air rises and meets cooler layers, water vapor condenses, forming clouds and mist. The sight is breathtaking. Imagine standing in a gigantic chamber surrounded by colossal rock walls, watching a layer of clouds form right there, as if there were an indoor sky. This unique microclimate impacts the local ecosystem, helping maintain the humidity needed for a variety of plants and animals to survive, including mosses, fungi, and even small trees growing in the sunlit areas. Have you ever seen clouds forming underground? Get ready. In Son Doong, it happens right before your eyes. Beyond its scenic beauty, the formation of clouds inside the cave is a natural laboratory for meteorologists and speleologists who can observe condensation and air circulation processes in an isolated environment, almost like a world apart from the rest of the planet. The internal rainforest, a prehistoric world. As you move through the dark corridors, you suddenly come upon a break in the ceiling, a dough line, where sunlight pours through, creating a striking contrast between darkness and light. It is here that Son Doong reveals one of its most astonishing treasures, a genuine tropical rainforest growing inside the cave. The setting looks like something out of a science fiction film. Slender trees, bushes and ferns, orchids clinging to rocks, and a profusion of mosses covering the ground and damp walls. The constant presence of moisture, combined with controlled sunlight, creates ideal conditions for plant life. Roots cling to cracks in the stone, while branches and leaves stretch out toward every beam of sunlight that penetrates the openings. The result is a kind of ecological bubble. That is, an ecosystem relatively isolated from the outside world. Species that somehow found their way into the cave may have followed distinct evolutionary paths, potentially developing unique genetic and behavioral traits. Although much research is still needed, this forest may serve as a refuge for plants that were common thousands or even millions of years ago, preserving traits from a distant past. In other words, you might be looking at a living remnant of the prehistoric era. To step on that vegetation-covered soil, breathing in the scent of leaves and flowers blooming deep underground, is an experience few ever have. And for those who do, the sensation is like returning to a primordial stage of Earth, where nature reigned in full, untouched glory. The underground river and its importance. In one of the deepest sections of Son Doong, a river flows that has played a fundamental role in shaping the cave, and continues to sculpt its structures to this day. This underground river is the natural force that over millions of years dissolved the limestone and carved its way through solid rock, creating tunnels and corridors so vast they defy the imagination. Exploring it is no simple task. In some stretches, the water gathers in deep pools. In others, it forms internal waterfalls and narrow passages where only experienced divers can proceed safely. The currents vary depending on the season and the amount of rainfall. During the rainy season, the river can rise quickly, making some parts of the cave inaccessible and even dangerous. Beyond its beauty, this underground river is essential to maintaining Son Doong's internal ecosystem. It provides water for vegetation, helps regulate humidity, and offers a habitat for aquatic creatures, some nearly transparent, that have adapted to the absence of light. Geologists and biologists see in the river a unique opportunity to study erosive processes and cave-dwelling species, shedding light on how life can adapt to extreme conditions. And this has direct applications for the exploration of other planets, like Mars, where caves may conceal similar forms of life. Just like the clouds and the internal forest, the underground river is further proof that Son Doong is a living system in constant transformation, whose grandeur reflects nature's incredible ability to shape breathtaking environments over time. Biodiversity, life beyond the darkness. When we think of caves, it's common to picture dark, damp, lifeless places. Son Doong, however, completely breaks this stereotype. In addition to the plants found in the dolines, there is a whole array of living beings that have adapted to the cave's unique conditions. The result is a vibrant ecosystem filled with complex interactions between flora and fauna. Inside the underground river, for instance, we can find translucent fish that have lost their pigmentation and, in some cases, their vision due to the lack of light. There are also cave-dwelling shrimp and other crustaceans that depend on water currents to bring organic particles from the outside world. In areas where sunlight penetrates, insects and small amphibians take advantage of the warmth to breed and hunt, while in total darkness, bacteria and fungi colonize the soil and walls, playing a crucial role in decomposing organic matter. It is estimated that more than 250 species of plants and animals live in and around Son Doong, many of them endemic, meaning they are not found anywhere else on the planet. Recently, 7 new animal species were discovered in the cave, reinforcing the idea that this microcosm still holds surprises for researchers. Every creature, no matter how small, is part of an intricate ecological balance that has been sustained for thousands of years. It's as if the cave holds its own operating system, where everything functions in harmony without needing our interference. For scientists, studying this diversity is like deciphering a complex puzzle that may offer insights not only into how living beings adapt, but also into how life evolved in isolated environments. For us, the lay public, it is fascinating proof that even in seemingly inhospitable darkness, nature finds ways to thrive and amaze. Endemic species and recent discoveries. Son Doong remains an inexhaustible source of scientific discoveries. Since the first major expedition in 2009, researchers from various fields have been documenting the local biodiversity. The fact that the cave remained virtually untouched for so long created the conditions for the emergence of species that have adapted to highly specific niches, some of which we can only begin to understand. Among the newly catalogued creatures are insects with extraordinarily long antennae used to navigate in total darkness, mollusks with shells subtly different from their surface relatives, and even small mammals that explore the internal forest during the brief periods when natural light reaches the ground. Scholars believe there are still dozens, if not hundreds, of species waiting to be discovered, hidden in narrow passages or water-filled pits where human access is extremely difficult. One of the most striking discoveries was the identification of a type of cave spider whose web patterns are unlike any other documented species. Instead of weaving a suspended web, it builds horizontal traps across rocky surfaces. This behavior was first recorded in Son Doong and sparked new hypotheses about how evolutionary adaptation occurs in environments with scarce food resources. These recent discoveries reinforce the importance of keeping Son Doong under strict protection. Each new species found is not just a scientific trophy, but a valuable clue to understanding how life diversifies in extreme habitats. The more we research, the more we realize we have yet to uncover all the secrets this underground world holds. The giant stalagmites, towers of millennia. One of the most striking sights inside Son Doong is the presence of giant stalagmites, some exceeding 70 meters in height. To grasp the magnitude of this, just imagine buildings over 20 stories tall, formed slowly and patiently by mineral deposition, drop by drop, over countless centuries. Stalagmites form when water rich in calcium carbonate drips constantly from the cave ceiling, depositing tiny amounts of calcite on the ground. Over the years, these deposits accumulate into columns that seem to defy gravity. These formations reach such impressive dimensions because Son Doong provides perfect conditions: high ceilings, space to grow, and a stable hydrological regime that ensures continuous dripping. These natural towers are both beautiful and silent witnesses to geological time. Within their layers are recorded climate changes, variations in rainfall patterns, and even traces of ancient tectonic activity. Each stalagmite can thus be analyzed by researchers as a natural archive, telling the planet's history through layers of calcite. Walking alongside these monumental formations feels like wandering through a lost city whose towers were raised not by human hands, but by the tireless patience of the earth itself. Undoubtedly an experience that invites reflection on our fleeting presence in the face of the slow and grand processes that shape the world we live in. The Phyto-cast rocks moving toward the light. Among the many limestone formations in Son Doong, the so-called Phyto-cast rocks stand out for seeming to have a life of their own. This still little-known term describes rock structures that, due to chemical reactions, interactions with fungi, moss, and possibly other biological factors, end up moving very slowly toward areas more illuminated by the dolines. Although this movement is microscopic and takes decades to become perceptible to the naked eye, scientists studying the phenomenon have noted that Phyto-cast rocks undergo differential erosion. The side facing the light wears down differently than the side facing darkness. In this way, the rock may develop a curvature or a subtle shift. The presence of microorganisms that benefit from the available light and minerals in the limestone is another crucial factor. It is likely that the activity of these organisms on the rock's surface creates slight differences in pressure and texture, contributing to its slow movement. There is still no scientific consensus on the complete mechanism, but the phenomenon itself shows how Son Doong's environment offers unique conditions for geobiological processes. While to a visitor, a Phyto-cast rock might seem like nothing more than an exotic curiosity, to researchers, it is a rare opportunity to understand the complex interaction between geological elements and living organisms in an isolated natural laboratory. A reminder that even when we think of something as inanimate as a rock, life and the forces of nature can surprise us in unexpected ways. Cave pearls, unique mineral jewels. In addition to the stalagmites and Phyto-cast rocks, Son Doong holds a treasure of rare beauty. Cave pearls. Much like the natural pearls we know, formed inside oysters, these mineral gems are also spherical, but the result of a completely different process. Cave pearls form when droplets of mineral-rich water fall onto tiny fragments of calcite or sand. As these particles are moved by the action of water, they are coated with successive layers of calcite, which deposit evenly, creating a smooth, spherical surface. The constant rotation prevents calcite from accumulating more on one side than the other, resulting in perfectly round shapes. The process is incredibly slow. It requires specific conditions of water flow, mineral saturation, and time, a great deal of time, for these formations to reach even a few dozen millimeters in size. Finding large cave pearls in great quantity, as happens in certain sections of Son Doong, is a clear sign that the cave has been blessed by rare and delicate natural processes. For visitors, the recommendation is clear: observe and photograph, but never touch or remove these pearls. Any human interference can halt their growth and severely harm the surrounding ecosystem. After all, it is nature itself that over thousands of years polishes these relics, proving once again that even in the deepest and darkest recesses there is room for sublime beauty. Local legends and myths about Son Doong. Long before Son Doong became internationally famous, it already filled the imaginations of local residents, wrapped in mystery and superstition. Villagers from the surrounding areas told stories of ancestral spirits living inside the mountain, guarding unimaginable treasures and protecting the region from intruders. Some claimed the cave was home to a sleeping dragon, whose roars could be heard in the form of the wind blowing from the entrance. Nha-Ke, the very man who rediscovered the cave in modern times, mentioned in some interviews that his initial fear upon finding the cave was reinforced by these stories. The cold air current flowing from the darkness, combined with the sound of the underground river, gave the impression that something immense and unknown resided there. That is why he postponed a more detailed exploration for so long. There was also a legend circulating about a ghost forest hidden in the heart of the mountain, where time had supposedly stopped and ancient creatures still roamed. Curiously, when the team of speleologists finally reached the chamber where the inner forest grows, part of the legend proved to be more real than one could have imagined. This reinforced the locals' belief in a special energy emanating from Son Doong. Despite scientific advances and geological explanations for the phenomena found inside, many neighboring communities still maintain a sense of respect and reverence for the legends. After all, these stories are an integral part of the local cultural identity, and they lend the cave an air of spirituality and wonder that transcends mere rational understanding. For those visiting Son Doong, learning about these myths is also a journey into Vietnam's cultural heritage, offering insight into how human populations relate to this gigantic and enigmatic natural sanctuary. Why access is limited. Since Son Doong gained prominence on the global stage, many people have dreamed of visiting the site. However, tourist exploration of the cave is extremely restricted and controlled. The first reason is safety. Without the guidance of experienced leaders, entering Son Doong can be dangerous, as it involves climbing sections, river crossings, and potentially unstable areas. The second reason, and perhaps the most important, is the preservation of the ecosystem. As we have seen, the cave harbors endemic species and extremely delicate mineral formations, shaped by nature over millions of years. Unregulated visitor flow could cause irreparable damage, destroying habitats, polluting the underground river, and disrupting unique geological processes. For this reason, the Vietnamese government, in partnership with environmental preservation agencies, determined that only a limited number of people would be allowed to enter Son Doong each year. Oxalis is the only licensed operator authorized to lead official expeditions, ensuring that visitors receive safety instructions and follow responsible conduct throughout the journey. This includes rules such as do not touch sensitive rock formations, leave no trace of trash or pollution, avoid excessive noise to prevent disturbing the local fauna, respect restricted zones where human presence could cause serious imbalances. The high cost and waiting list to access Son Doong may discourage some adventurers, but these are necessary measures to preserve the magic of this environment. After all, when it comes to a natural treasure so fragile and irreplaceable, it is essential to strike a balance between human curiosity and environmental responsibility. For the fortunate few who manage to secure a spot on the Son Doong expedition, the experience is described as life-changing. The journey usually lasts between 4 and 5 days, alternating between camping inside the cave itself and hiking through the surrounding forests. It all begins with a few hours' trek through the jungle, crossing rivers and valleys until finally reaching the cave entrance. Inside, each day is filled with discoveries, massive passages that seem to belong on another planet, imposing rock formations and landscapes that shift as natural light moves throughout the day. Sleeping in a campsite deep within Son Doong is an experience in itself. The darkness is nearly absolute, broken only by flashlights and controlled campfires. The sound of the underground river lulls visitors to sleep, while the humidity and temperature may take some getting used to. At times, it is necessary to climb rock walls, cross makeshift bridges, or venture through stretches where the water reaches the waist. In each of these challenges, the team of guides does an exemplary job of ensuring everyone's safety. However, the physical demands are real. Those who are less prepared may find the climbs and steep descents particularly difficult. But at the end of each day, the reward comes in the form of unparalleled landscapes and the feeling of experiencing one of the last great adventures of the modern world. Many describe a shift in perspective, almost an awakening to the grandeur of nature and the fragility of human life. It is hard to leave Son Doong the same as when you entered. The cave leaves you with a renewed sense of humility and awe. Comparisons with other famous caves. The planet is home to countless impressive caves, each with its own unique characteristics. In Mammoth Cave, in the United States, we find the largest cave system in terms of length, with more than 640 kilometers of mapped passages. Nha Cave in Borneo drew attention for its colossal dimensions and enormous bat population. In Mexico, the Nha-Ke crystal cave astonished the world with its giant selenite crystals. However, when it comes to volume and the colossal scale of its chambers, Son Doong stands out in an extraordinary way. The fact that a 40-story building could fit inside some of its halls gives an idea of the cave's astounding internal capacity. Moreover, the combination of an internal forest, underground river, clouds, and rare geological formations makes Son Doong a multi-dimensional experience, almost as if several famous caves were merged into a single location. Of course, each renowned cave has its own personality. Mammoth Cave is an unparalleled labyrinth. Nha Cave stands out for the astonishing mass bat exodus at dusk, and Nha-Ke features crystals that seem straight out of science fiction. However, Son Doong goes beyond pure and simple speleological interest. It is, so to speak, a complete ecosystem, a slice of the planet that blends the underground world with the surface world, giving rise to internal climatic and biological phenomena that astonish even the most experienced researchers. It is precisely this convergence of factors that places it in a league of its own among the greatest natural wonders on Earth, making it a dream destination for adventurers, scientists, and nature lovers alike. Scientific efforts. When it comes to Son Doong, one cannot overlook the challenges faced by scientists who set out to study it. Every data collection expedition is a complex endeavor, requiring government authorization, logistics for equipment, food supplies, and a multidisciplinary team. Geologists, biologists, climatologists, and speleologists must join forces to understand the myriad processes occurring simultaneously within the cave. In some areas, access is only possible through rappelling or diving into cold, murky water. Measuring instruments must be installed with great care so as not to disturb the environment. Soil, water, and rock samples are collected and catalogued, but transporting these samples back to the surface requires heightened caution. Despite all the difficulties, the effort is worthwhile. Researchers have already managed to map much of the known galleries, document new species, and monitor internal climate conditions. These studies help not only to understand Son Doong itself, but also shed light on how caves can serve as natural archives of climate and biological evolution. Ongoing research is essential to support conservation policies. Without this scientific data, it would be impossible to balance tourism, economic interests, and environmental preservation. For this reason, Son Doong serves as a vast natural laboratory, demanding respect and caution from all who have the opportunity to set foot on its sacred ground. Recent discoveries. In recent years, a number of scientific studies on Son Doong have appeared in prestigious international publications. One of the most promising fields is the study of microorganisms, whose isolation and extreme adaptation may offer clues for discoveries in pharmacology and biotechnology. New bacteria found in the sediments of the underground river, for instance, may present novel medicinal properties or help us understand how life sustains itself in highly restricted environments. Another growing area of research is paleoclimate analysis. The layers of calcite in the rock formations serve as historical records of environmental variations over thousands of years. By studying oxygen and carbon isotopes, geologists can reconstruct periods of drought, intense rainfall, and even shifts in regional vegetation, correlating this data with major climate events of the past. At the same time, mapping expeditions have been using drones adapted to fly in confined, low-light environments. Although their use is limited by the lack of GPS signal and the need for specialized piloting, these initiatives have enabled the capture of unprecedented images of regions not yet physically explored. Perhaps most surprising is that despite all this progress, it is estimated that there are still unknown or scarcely studied passages and chambers within Son Doong. In other words, much remains to be uncovered. Every new expedition brings insights that challenge our understanding and expand the boundaries of exploration within this fantastic underground world. Climate change. Like any sensitive ecosystem, Son Doong is not immune to the effects of global climate change. Rising temperatures, shifts in rainfall patterns, and deforestation in the surrounding areas can directly impact the delicate balance that sustains the cave. If the rivers feeding the underground system suffer from prolonged droughts or pollution, the internal dynamics of Son Doong could be profoundly altered, putting at risk the endemic species that live there. Furthermore, rainwater is essential for the maintenance of formations like stalactites and stalagmites. A sudden change in the pH or chemical composition of rainfall could alter the rate of mineral deposition, jeopardizing the formation of new structures and the preservation of existing ones. Another crucial point is the stability of the dolines. Significant changes in soil moisture and surrounding vegetation may accelerate erosion processes or even lead to internal collapses, significantly altering the cave's landscape. For all these reasons, scientists and conservationists are sounding the alarm about the importance of protecting not only the cave itself, but the entire regional ecosystem. This includes creating broader conservation areas, reforesting degraded land, and raising awareness among local communities about sustainable practices. International collaboration is also vital, since issues like global warming transcend geographic borders. The good news is that Son Doong's growing renown can serve as a symbol of conservation, mobilizing efforts and resources for research and environmental protection projects. Defending such a unique and spectacular place can unite governments, scientists, and civil society around a common goal, ensuring that future generations can also marvel at this living and dynamic underground world. Possibilities of hidden passages. One of the most intriguing questions for speleologists is the possibility that Son Doong may be even larger than currently believed. Although it is already recognized as the world's largest cave by volume, recent investigations suggest the existence of chambers that may extend beyond the limits presently known. Some researchers speculate that Son Doong could connect to other cave systems in the region, forming an underground network capable of redefining the concept of a giant cave. The challenge in confirming these hypotheses is twofold. First, some passages remain submerged for much of the year, accessible only through highly specialized diving techniques. Second, the limestone geology can create extremely narrow sections or areas blocked by collapses, requiring a combination of remote sensing technology, exploratory robots, and patience to find alternative routes. There have been cases where speleologists have found small cracks with noticeable air currents, indicating large empty spaces at the end of the tunnel. However, forcing these passages open without thorough study could result in irreparable damage to the ecosystem or pose serious risks to the explorers. For that reason, every new expedition is undertaken with extreme caution. If these assumptions are confirmed, Son Doong could be part of an even larger network of underground spaces, potentially making this region one of the largest, if not the largest, limestone labyrinths on the planet. Regardless of whether such discoveries are ultimately verified, the mere existence of unexplored sections shows that this cave still holds great surprises in store. Local culture and religion. Son Doong's presence in the lives of nearby communities goes far beyond legends and myths. In many villages surrounding Nha-Ke National Park, the cave is seen as a gift and a spiritual symbol of connection with nature. Although there are no major temples built specifically in honor of the cave, it is common for locals to express gratitude through small rituals and offerings in the nearby forest. Local religiosity blends elements of Buddhism, Confucianism, and ancient animist beliefs. Many believe that the spirits of ancestors inhabit the mountains, trees, and waters. Because of its grandeur, Son Doong is seen as a focal point of these forces, acting as a portal between the material and spiritual worlds. During local festivals, processions often pass near the access trails to the cave. Although foreign tourism is growing steadily, most residents still maintain a simple lifestyle based on small-scale farming, fishing, and crafts. For them, seeing visitors from all over the world come to explore Son Doong is a source of pride, but also a reason to be concerned about protecting this sacred place. Thus, beyond its scientific and touristic significance, Son Doong holds deep cultural and spiritual value, which supports the identity of many Vietnamese families. Keeping that awareness in mind when exploring the cave is a form of respect for the cultural heritage that helped preserve this treasure for so many centuries. How to join an expedition. For those who dream of experiencing Son Doong up close, there are strict protocols to follow. First and foremost, the expedition must be booked well in advance, usually 1 to 2 years ahead. The only company authorized by the Vietnamese government to organize trips to the cave is Oxalis. Demand is high, and the number of annual spots is quite limited, reflecting a strong commitment to conserving the site. After securing a reservation, it is essential to undergo a health assessment. The expedition requires considerable physical effort, including intense hikes, steep climbs, and river crossings. Good physical conditioning and up-to-date medical exams are fundamental to minimizing risks. Next, participants receive a list of required gear. Hiking boots, a durable backpack, appropriate clothing for humid conditions, and of course basic eco-friendly hygiene items. Oxalis provides helmets, headlamps, and other specific equipment for exploration, but bringing high-quality personal gear is always recommended when possible. Finally, a pre-expedition briefing takes place a few days before the journey begins. During this stage, guides provide instructions on environmental conduct, cave safety, and emergency procedures. It is also a moment to align expectations. Accommodations are intense, meals are simple but nutritious, and there is no constant access to electricity or communication. Facing Son Doong is not for everyone, but those who commit to the necessary planning and physical and mental preparation are rewarded with an experience that pushes the boundaries of imagination. Seeing the world's largest cave chamber up close, feeling the cool breeze flowing through its interior, and contemplating forests and clouds formed below the surface are privileges that remain etched in memory forever. Stories of overcoming challenges. Many people who venture into Son Doong share stories of overcoming personal limits that go far beyond mere tourism. Some had never hiked through a tropical forest before, but chose to face the challenge as a way to test their own boundaries. Others confronted fears of confined spaces or heights, finding in the cave a unique opportunity to overcome those phobias. One striking example is that of a young man who, after recovering from a serious leg injury, spent several months in physical therapy to regain the strength and mobility needed to walk long distances. In his account, he describes the initial pain, the hesitation when descending slippery rock faces by rope, and the emotion of finally reaching the central camp deep in the heart of Son Doong, where he was rewarded with a view of a cathedral of stone, bathed in natural light from the doline above. There are also stories of family reunions, parents and children who chose to share the adventure as a way to reconnect and create lasting memories. The harsh environment, the need for mutual cooperation, and the wonder of each new discovery end up strengthening bonds. There, mobile phones lose signal, modern routines give way to simplicity, and people begin to rely on one another to face each challenge. Each account reinforces the idea that Son Doong is not just a geological marvel, but also a setting for personal transformation. Overcoming physical and emotional challenges in such a grand landscape often leads people to profound reflection about their own lives. Upon emerging back to the surface, many report a deep sense of gratitude for the natural world, along with the certainty that they have experienced something truly extraordinary. Recommended gear and physical preparation. Visiting Son Doong requires more than curiosity and enthusiasm. Having the right gear and adequate physical preparation is essential to face the terrain's demands. As for footwear, trekking boots with non-slip soles are indispensable, as the cave floor and surrounding trails can be wet and slippery. Proper socks that reduce moisture and prevent blisters also make a big difference during long hours of hiking. When packing, prioritize lightness and practicality. Essential items include headlamp with spare batteries, water bottle or hydration system with enough capacity for several hours, energy snacks such as cereal bars, dried fruit and chocolate for a quick energy boost, windbreaker and rain jacket, considering the changing weather inside and outside the cave, first aid kit with basic medications, bandages, and adhesive tape. Physical readiness should not be underestimated. Prior training is recommended, including uphill hikes, resistance exercises, leg strengthening, and regular stretching to improve flexibility. Proper breathing is also important, as the high humidity and occasional ascents inside the cave require breath control. Experienced guides emphasize that the mind plays a role just as crucial as the body. Staying calm in enclosed, dark environments, handling rope climbs or descents, and dealing with unexpected situations, such as sudden river level changes, requires confidence and mental composure. It is worth noting that this is an advanced level expedition, not a casual outing. However, thorough preparation significantly increases the chances of success and of making the most of this deep dive into the largest and most intriguing underground world ever discovered. Economic relevance for the local community. The arrival of visitors to Son Doong brings more than scientific curiosity and fascination with exotic landscapes. It also has a positive impact on the local economy. Many residents who once relied solely on subsistence farming and fishing in small rivers now have the opportunity to work as guides, porters, cooks, and assistants on expeditions. The region has also seen growth in guest houses, restaurants, and transport services that cater to tourists passing through Phong Nha before entering the forest. To ensure these benefits are sustainable, efforts have been made to train the local population. Ecotourism, language, and environmental conservation programs have been developed by government agencies and partner NGOs. This reinforces the concept of responsible tourism, where the community is part of the value chain while also protecting natural resources. Even so, the number of visitors remains limited in order to avoid overwhelming the cave. For this reason, the income generated is relatively high in comparison to the small volume of expeditions. This balance aims to foster economic development without repeating the mistakes of other overcrowded destinations, where unchecked growth has led to irreversible environmental damage. In this way, Son Doong also becomes a model of stewardship, preserving the environment, investing in the local community, and offering visitors an authentic and safe experience. It is proof that nature can and should be regarded as a valuable heritage, one that demands responsible and long-term vision in its exploration. Stories of people who decided to move to the region. Some people were so deeply impacted by the grandeur of Son Doong that they chose to radically change their lives. There are reports of foreigners who visited the cave on an expedition and later decided to settle near Nha-Ke Bang National Park. Inspired by the natural beauty and the peaceful pace of life, they opened small businesses such as cafes, hostels, or ecotourism agencies focused on sustainable experiences. For local residents, this movement has been welcomed as it brings fresh ideas, partnerships, and opportunities. Many of these newcomers are involved in environmental education projects and social initiatives promoting river cleanup campaigns, reforestation efforts, and cultural programs for children. But it is not only foreigners who fall in love with the region. There are stories of Vietnamese people who lived in major cities like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City and decided to return to their roots, bringing with them knowledge in management, marketing, and languages to further professionalize local ecotourism. Some began working directly with exploration teams, contributing to new research or serving as specialized guides. When we explore Son Doong, we discover more than geological formations or previously unknown species. We also discover how much we still have to learn from nature and how much it can teach us about patience, balance, resilience, and beauty. Every drop that trickles down the stalagmites, every patch of moss that grows on the rocks, every creature that survives in the dark tells a story of life that began long before us and may continue long after. To preserve places like this is to preserve not only biodiversity, but also our ability to be amazed. May this journey have broadened your perspective, sparked your curiosity, and perhaps even rekindled your desire to explore and protect the wonders of our world. Thank you for watching, and now YouTube is recommending 2 videos just for you, and we're sure you'll enjoy them too. Click and join us on another fascinating journey. See you next time.